Today I want to talk about cheating. See, sometimes what happens is when we are in an unhealthy place mentally or whatever, we start thinking that if we change everything else around us, that'll somehow bring us happiness. And then the whole pursuit is I need to find my happiness. And then it becomes this, I need to stay away from toxic people. And then you get to this place inevitably. Well, my spouse, my partner, they are toxic. I need to get space from them because my health depends on it. If I had a different spouse, I'd be better off. We start going this kind of route, and it's mostly untrue. There are some things that are obviously true, as with every time that there's a lie, there's always those little things that are kind of true. But you're going to see some things that happen. First off, when you start going down that route, your battle is going to get worse. You're going to become self absorbed. It's going to be something where you don't really like who you turn into 5 or 10 years down the road. It's going to be something that is just going to have huge negative effects on your family, on you, on everything, and it won't actually solve anything. Because anytime that you try and find happiness out there, people don't bring you happiness. You choose happiness. I have a friend who lost his wife to cancer. He's got like 5 or 6 kids. The situation that he's in is just really a bad situation, and yet he always says this: choose love, choose happiness. It's not something where you wake up and say, "Hooray, my wife is dead," but it's something that you can make the choice, and other people aren't going to stand in the way of that. And so what happens? Well, let me get back to the topic here. Okay, so we're talking about cheating. When you want to cheat, you're going to think that everyone else is doing it because you want to do it, so you want to validate what you're doing. And then when you start cheating, you're going to think that they are cheating. You're going to see it in them. Oh, they're cheating on me. They were doing this or they were doing this. But here's the thing: when you do something crooked and backwards like cheating, it puts things in your head and makes you reinterpret the information that you're getting in your brain. So you're going to see something and you're going to see it differently than it actually is, and oftentimes your brain will put like the most negative spin on it as possible. It sounds fun until it happens without your consent and in a way that violates you. Oh, this would be fun if I cheat. It'll be so liberating until somebody does it to you. Until the person that they're cheating to is talking down to you, down about you, to your partner, the one who's supposed to have your back. Well, I don't like them talking bad about me while they're violating my partner. See, it was all fun and games before. Oh, it'd be so hot if my partner cheated on me. It'd be so hot if I cheated on my spouse. And then once it gets to a certain point, oh, well, I'm not okay with that. See, that's what we always think happens with sin. I'm unhappy, it's everybody else's fault. If I do this sin, it's going to make everything better. But then it doesn't. And so then we try and repeat the behavior to get a different result, but then it just keeps leading to the same result over and over again. It sounds really fun until it happens without your consent, until it happens in a way that violates you. Like, for instance, oh, we'll do a three-way. It'll be super fun, and then we'll just bounce back to the way things were before, and it won't leave any lasting consequences. No. This is what actually happens. Your partner may end up liking sex with that person more than with you. You might like having sex with that person more than that. A line gets crossed, and there's that betrayal, and it follows you. And it's not pleasant. Maybe that person starts having secret conversations with your partner. Oh, I thought our three-way was supposed to be between us. Never works like that. In open marriages, people always get hurt. In situations that are very like that, somebody gets hurt, things don't work out how you think, there's always the negative consequences of the action. It always happens every single time. But we always tell ourselves, it won't happen with me, I'm too smart, I've thought this through, and then we get in a place where there's no coming back from. So then we have to pick up the pieces and move forward, and this is the problem. We start thinking, I might as well just give up. That's not true. You can still salvage it. You can still work forward, and you can still work towards healing. It'll be a daily thing, but you can do it. It is possible. The problem is that both people have to be fully committed to each other, and they have to be okay with accountability and put checks in place. And then there's the inevitable problem that eventually trust does have to be rebuilt, and it's very hard to build up trust with someone that they broke it. See, and that it just gets very complicated. So I would highly recommend counseling, but it is definitely a thing. So 3 waves really don't work. They do hurt in many ways. It's just not good. Not to mention the psychological problem that it causes, or sometimes in one of the people, it'll cause an over hunger where, okay, well, we tried it with that, now let's try it with this person else, and then eventually it just gets worse from there. I mean, that's already bad enough, but it just gets worse. And when you cheat, you'll find that this kind of thing happens. You start blaming others. It's their fault that I'm doing this. They're making me feel like this. They're not there for me. They don't ever support me. So it's all their fault. And so it's okay for me to do something completely immoral and gross and disgusting because of them, because it's all their fault. And surely you see the problem here. And then when you get caught, oftentimes what happens is you get mad at getting caught. You get mad at them for snooping, rather than getting mad at yourself for allowing yourself to get to that place and saying, I don't like who I've become. You feel this irritation, but you don't know who. You don't want to put it on yourself because surely it's not my fault. So you just kind of start going down this path, and it causes a lot of problems. Now, I hope that you see how this connects with your problem with addictions and those kinds of things. Sex can be an addiction too. Thrills, excitement, adrenaline, these can all be really life-corrupting addictions. And if you struggle with a different addiction, or if you're dealing with anxiety and then doing these things, it's going to make it worse. Oh, especially with people with like anxiety and depression. He makes me feel alive. Oh, this person, they help me in a way that my partner doesn't. Well, maybe because your partner is around you all the time and they have to put up with you all the time, and so it kind of drains. And the same thing's going to happen with the person that you cheat on. If you cheat on someone, that person will also, more than likely, cheat on you. It's not really the most assured thing. Did you know that when people get divorced and get remarried, the chances of their next marriage having success drops drastically? And for every time that they get married after that, the chances of a successful marriage drop further and further. But of course, we always blame everybody else, and that's part of the problem, is we're not willing to just be real with ourselves. This is my fault. How can I get out of this? How can I fix this? Not how can I escape the consequences, how can I fix this? So cheating typically starts with a few key things. First off, hurt feelings or something like that then develops into pattern getting hurt feelings, which develops into bitterness. Then bitterness leads to detachment, lack of communication, withholding from each other, withholding sex, withholding emotions, whatever. And then eventually you get to this point of the point of no return. Instead of, this isn't something that one conversation can fix. It becomes something that you have to work on with your partner for a while. And, that's kind of a big problem to have to deal with. So a lot of times people just give up. So that's at this point that cheating happens, because the trust has been broken. You don't know where you can go. You feel very uncertain. It doesn't seem like there's hope. So it just erects this huge wall. And so you've got this, and then this leads to guilt of how you feel. So then you cheat, and you feel guilty for cheating. You're not quite sure, but you feel like you're all in now, and it's like it keeps getting more and more complicated because you were trying to hide something from your partner, and it never works out like that. We always think that we're going to be the exception. It's going to be different with us. So then after this guilt, eventually it comes to a place of resentment. It's their fault. Why did they do this to me? And it's all about me, my good feeling, my pleasure, my happiness, and they're stopping me from that. And it's just not a very healthy place to be in. Eventually you decide not to reconcile. They were wrong. They owe you. I am the victim. That person, they're worthless, and it's not worth my time. Cheating starts with this idea of lust in our heads. Oh, they're pretty good looking, and then it develops past that. Always develops like this, and progresses into action, which becomes more and more risque, more and more intimate. Brushing hands, then flirting, then you know what I mean. Things like that, where it builds up into eventually one of the two people takes the big step. But it starts with that lust. and then progresses into action, then becomes a lifestyle that this is the person who you are. And you see people who are in porn, for instance, who do a bunch of porn videos in a day, and they have a completely different idea of morality. They have a completely different idea of, hey, pornography isn't that bad. Hey, sex isn't anything special. Well, of course they don't think that sex is special because they've made a life of making it unspecial. When you continually subject yourself to that, it sears your conscience. And luckily, your conscience can be rebuilt, but it does take time and energy, a lot of effort. So these are just things. Typically, you want to try and avoid this, but if you can't avoid it, then you want to try and take steps to healing it. And getting help is one of the first things. Being open with your partner is one of the first things. We always think that if we hide it, it'll make things better, but the more you hide it, the worse it gets. Every time. So okay, the way forward is pretty clear. Regardless of whether you have cheated or think about it or haven't cheated, put others first. Stop living your life for yourself. Forgive, and even if they never change, forgive them. You don't forgiving them so that they will act different. You're forgiving them because that's who you are and because that's the right thing to do. Be open and communicate. Don't live your life guarded. Sometimes we see people as plus and negative signs. Will they benefit me or will they not? And we become where it's like we've been hurt before, so we don't really want to be hurt, so we kind of close ourselves off from people. That's not a way to live. You can't live in that cocoon of protection and be happy, and you really can't do anything worth anything either. A lot of times we have anxiety and depression because we live in this cocoon trying to hide ourselves from our emotions, from ourselves or from others or whatever. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to have to change. All these different things, and it's just something that imprisons us. Our cocoon turns into a coffin, and it's not doesn't ever work how we think it works. Think about this. Think about when there's a problem that comes up, and this is how you thought it was going to go, but then it didn't go like that. And it's the exact same thing that happens with other things. With this. So, everybody thinks they are the exception, but true character and true integrity doesn't abandon a partner in a fire. There's two firemen that go into a fire, and one of them says, you know what, I don't really want to do this, so they just leave, and the other fireman dies because their partner left. That's exactly what happens. So you got tempted, or you guys had a fight or whatever. So commit to resolving the issue. If you're doing something that's hurting your partner where they're lashing out at you in anger, and just like, well, fine, I'm not even gonna talk. I'm not talking about abuse, but lashing out in anger in the sense of like, I just can't even deal with you right now. Well, then maybe you should put forth more of an effort to be a better person. Well, if they would do this, so you're going to hold them hostage. You're not going to try and be better. You're not going to try and reconcile the marriage and the relationship unless they revolve their whole world around making sure that you're happy all the time about everything. Sometimes we don't want a partner. Sometimes we want a cat. No, not a cat. Cats are selfish. A dog. Sometimes we cheat with sex. Sometimes we cheat with relationships like emotions. Sometimes we cheat with hobbies. Sometimes you cheat with drugs and those kinds of things. Here's the thing, cheating is cheating. And you have to, especially with cheating, you have to put your spouse before those things, and you have to be willing to sacrifice things and change yourself. Obviously, don't get with someone who loves you if you were someone else. Be someone who loves you as you are, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't commit to self-improvement. So beware of these things. Oh, I'm not cheating with sex. No, but you're thinking about that person. While you're having sex, you're thinking with your partner, you're thinking about this other person. That's still cheating. You're watching porn. That's still cheating. You're going out every Friday night and spending your guys' money on you going out and have a good time by yourself. That's cheating. And, just because it's not the traditional cheating doesn't mean it's not cheating. If you go down the road of cheating, you will experience worse emotions. There will be inevitable consequences. People always find out every time. Every time. It always ends like that, and it just never works well. I would strongly encourage you to just avoid this, get out as soon as you can. Oftentimes, your spouse's behavior will be linked to your own. And oftentimes, people who make a move on you, their moves will be linked to you. And so be willing to really watch yourself for your weaknesses, for what you're doing that you could improve on. I hope that this was helpful. Remember that this is another symptom and also another cause, both and, of depression and those kinds of things. You can't cheat and be happy. This doesn't work. See ya!